Good day, everyone. We're going to discuss the topics of the PreLim Week 4, and we are the Group 3. So, please connect today. So, these are the topics that we're going to discuss: the effects of globalization on governments, identify the institutions that govern international relations, differentiate internationalism from globalism, identify the roles and functions of the United Nations, identify the challenges of global governance in the 21st century, and explain the relevance of the state amid globalization. So, like the next day, the first reporter will be Engine Cadet Padillo Ayan Carl. So then.
So good day, everyone. I am Engine Cadet Padillo Ayancar. So going to discuss the first topic, which is the effects of globalization on governments. Next, please. Effects of globalization on governments. Globalization will eventually eliminate the barriers of nations and disparate governments. Collectivism and universality will restore nature's real value and eliminate the fake value system of economics. Fake value or wealth is created by failed economics, which create fake income inequality that is used to manipulate the masses' access to real value. Economics is destructive. So economics is destructive while nature is constructive. So next, please. So I'm gonna read first. And I'm gonna discuss all in all. So background of globalization. Everyone loves to talk about how globalization has changed our lives. Coca-Cola sells soda around the world, and the United Nations act as a world government to try to make the world a safer place. But how does it affect laws in cities like Lagos, Nigeria, and Long Beach, California? How has globalization affected local governments? First of all, let's define globalization. So, globalization is the way that countries and people around the world have become more connected economically, politically, and socially. It has made it possible for a person in Lebanon to eat McDonald's cheeseburger, talk to a friend in New York City on Skype about fracking, and listen to Korean pop music on Spotify. Next, please. Next slide, please. So, how globalization looks from top down to down. So, as countries have become more interconnected, they have needed to work together more. For example, countries work together to protect the government or fight terrorism. This has led to the development of the world government. After World War II, the United Nations was formed as a kind of world government, but the UN can't really govern the world. So, in summary, first topic, the government and globalization have their relationships. So, through to globalization, there are laws implemented, or even if that laws came from the other countries, the local government adapt it, even if they don't like it, because it is needed to adapt to the globalization. So globalization means we have different access to from the different countries. So in order to adapt or to have to in order to cope up with the change So we need to follow the different laws implemented by the government, and these laws is established because of the economic demand. And that's for my part. So let's proceed to the next reporter.
So, good day everyone. I am Engine Cadet Labay, and our my topic to discuss is identify the institutions that governs international relations. So, what it what is the international relations? So, it refers to a field of study and practice focused on understanding the unique relationships that exist between various nations and cultures. These relationships can impact everything from first is the international law, known as a public international law or the law of nation. It is the set of rules, norms, and standards generally accepted in relations between, and it establishes the normative guidelines and common conceptual framework to guide states across a broad range of domains, including war, diplomacy, trade, and human rights. International law aims that the practice of stable, consistent, and organized the international relations. And the second one is the international politics. So international politics is that aspect of interactions and relations of sovereign states in which the element of conflict or interest in present. National politics, like international politics, also involves a short adjustment of relationship within among individual or groups. And the third one is economics of security. So economics economic of security as the ability of individuals, households, or communities to cover their essential needs sustainable and with dignity. This can also vary according to a individual's physical needs, the environment, and prevailing cultural standards of food, basic shelter, clothing, and hygiene qualify as essential needs. As thus the related expenditure, the essential assets needed to earn a living, and the costs associated with healthcare and education. And the fourth one is the diplomacy, or the established method of influencing the decisions and behavior of foreign and peoples through dialogue and other measures, short war or violence. So the governance is the and the third one is the governance. So um, the state institutions that governs the internal relations are first sovereign states. A sovereign state is a political entity that present by the centralized government that has sovereignty over the geographic. In the second one is intergovernmental organizations, or IGOs, is an organization established by the treaty or other instrument governed by the international law. The third one is the international non-government organization, or extends the concept of non-government organization to an international scope. So, what is non-government organization or NGOs are independent of governments and can be seen as a two types advocacy NGOs which aim to influence a government with specific goal and operational NGOs which provide services, and the last one is the multi corporations or MC MNC. multi is a corporate organization that owns or controls production of goods or services at least one country other than its home country. So that's my topic. And the next reporter is Engine Cadet Asombrado.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dave. Next. So, for my report, it is all about the differentiate internationalism from globalism. Globalism. So, globalism is much wider term in terms of its meaning, scope, and outcome. A national policy of threatening the whole world as a proper sphere for political influence. So, it is also a development of social, cultural, technological, or economic networks that transcend national boundaries, a policy outlook, etc., that is worldwide in scope, a national geopolitical policy in which the entire world is regarded as the appropriate sphere for states' influence. Next, an ideology based on the belief that people, goods, and information both to be able to cross national borders unfettered. So, meaning to say, when we have globalism, so mas dako siya scope, then dako siya og kuan sa tuang world since iyang main aim is to uh, centralize or govern the whole globe, like uniformity. Next slide. So while internationalism lays stress on the solidarity and cooperation among the nations while acknowledging their sovereign character, globalism, on the other hand, not only emphasizes the delusion of sovereign expression of the nation, but demonstrate the conflict arising out the delusion as well. So the difference of these both are, it is internationalism is a political, economic, cultural cooperation between nations. So while globalism is an ideology based on the belief that people, goods, and information both to be able to cross national borders unfettered. So this, however, does not mean that globalism is a negative, since we surrender the sovereignty, but the main aim of having a globalism is that it moderated the barrier to international exchanges. So if there are barriers of international exchanges, so mas matabangan ng uban na naglisod because dili maditso sa ilaha. Next, to further understand the internationalism is that there are three types to be observed or to be identified. So the first one is the hegemonic internationalism. So the main aim of this one is that colonialism and imperialism are examples of this hegemonic internationalism, since in the dominance of one nation ang mas gi-focus aning type. So ang liberal internationalism believe that the greater the interaction of and cooperation, nations and nation states can achieve common goals, especially peace and prosperity. So liberal means much progress to be observed. Then revolutionary is a conflict within society are determined by international factors. and alliances. So murag mo revoke sila sa rights, then through ani mas ubot. Next, that could be all. Thank you. Next reporter.
Good day. I am the fourth reporter. I am Jingatet Chavez, Nyavenjud. Next slide, please. So, functions of United Nations as of today. So, as it was in the past, the main function of the UN today is to maintain peace and security for all of its member states. Though the UN does not maintain its own military, it does have peacekeeping forces that are supplied by its member state. On approval of the UN Security Council, these peacekeepers are, for example, sent to regions where armed conflict has recently ended to discourage combatants from resuming fighting. In 1998, the peacekeeping force won a Nobel Peace Prize for its actions. So, more on peacekeeping in the nations as of today. Next slide, please. So the UN Charter states the following purpose. It's first, to maintain international peace and security. And to that end, to take effective collective measures for the prevention and removal of threats to the peace, and for the cessation of acts of aggression or other breaches of the peace, and to bring about by peaceful means and in conformity with principles of justice and internal law, adjustment or settlement of international disputes or situations which might be a breach of the peace law. They are protecting the peace, and they are the peacekeeping body within a state or a place where there is aggressions or breaches of peace. So the second is to develop friendly relations among nations based on respect for the principle of equal rights and self-determination of peoples, and to take other appropriate measures to strengthen universal peace. So the second is more on to develop friendly relations to nations and basing on their respective principles of equal rights. So the next slide, please. Third is to give international cooperation in solving international problems of economic, social, cultural, humanitarian, and in promoting and encouraging respect for human rights and for fundamental freedoms for all without distinction as to race, language, or religion, and for the to be a center for harmonizing the needs of nations in attainment of this common end. So the third and fourth is a continuation. So they promote freedom, and they help on solving international problems on economics, social, cultural, or humanitarian characters, and so on, without any, with that basing on distinction as to race, language, or religion. Whether you're a poor or a rich country with a problem on it, they will help you, and they will send a humanitarian help or support. Next slide, please. So this is the main purposes of the UN or United Nations. First is keep peace throughout the world. So they are the peacekeeping body on the or develop friendly relations among nations. So they also keep on good relations towards its nation. Having any disputes or any conflict, they are the one to mediate on it. And third, help nations work together to improve the lives of poor people, to conquer hunger, disease, and illiteracy, and to encourage respect for others, right, and freedom. So, with this uh, statement, we are to humanitarian support more on the people, more on the illnesses, hungerness, illiteracy. That's what they focus on to respect each other. So next slide, please. So the next reporter, hand over to Engine Cadet. Thank you.
Thank you, Engine Cadet Chavez. So I am Engine Cadet Tapales Stephen. So I go next, Doy. So my topic is all about the challenges of global governance in the 21st century. The first challenge is the environmental. So in the scientific community, the major areas of the urgent concern have been climate change, biodiversity loss, and pollution. So these are the most common challenges in the environment. So to take just a few examples, global carbon dioxide emissions from fossil fuels have grown at an average annual rate of 2% since 1990 and hit record levels in 2018, reflecting the continued growth of the global community and sharp rise in energy consumption in China, accompanied by a weakening of natural carbon sinks such as forests and seas. So the forest and seas is very helpful sa global warming, sa greenhouse effect, so accompanied by the weakening of natural carbon sinks. So not surprisingly, large volumes of Arctic ice have melted and accelerated flow in Greenland glaciers, and now in Antarctic is contributing to rising sea levels. So due to climate change, so the ice in the Arctic kind of melt na, and then it's also an effect sa melting sa ice is that rising of sea levels. So based on the report, so nagasaka jud og namang sea level. So palag next. So social challenges. While environment challenges represent the outer boundaries to a sustainable planetary society, there are also a number of inner social boundaries below which no just and equitable society with adequate wealth and resource should descend with poverty as the most central issue. The failure of present economic system to distribute its increasing wealth more equitably has led to growing inequality and the consequent social instability. So the main point of this is that unequal distribution of wealth, so among the societies. So the next challenge is the economic challenge. So in our globalized world, powerful demonstration effects are at work as everyone can now see how the wealthy live. The spread of instant communication and the internet have led billions of people in China, India, Latin America, and other parts of the developing world to aspire to lifestyle and patterns of consumption similar to those prevailing in the advanced economics. Furthermore, these populations are often unwilling to postpone such aspirations and increasingly expect their government to deliver rising levels of prosperity, implicitly pushing for a more equitable distribution of the world's resources. Wala ko next. So security challenges. So, unfortunately, environmental, social, and economic challenges are not by any means of only social to risk of humankind's global outlook. Noted political thinkers have periodically argued that a major war between sovereign states may be on its way to obsolescence. There has been a dramatic increase in recent decades in the pride of war and diminishing expectations of victory benefits. So close international interdependence and the emergence of an international integrated global community, the growing sophistication and destructive power and weapons systems, so including nuclear weapons, so have drastically expanded scale of losses in human lives and property associated with the kinds of conflict which one two occasions were witnessed in the 20th century. So the global economy has never had higher levels of productive capacity and average life expectancy as an all-time high. Hence, the potential cost of global war are also at an all-time high. Furthermore, the rewards of war among states, loot and glory honor, which for more many countries propelled nations to war, have given way to populations in search of growing prosperity, social security, and various forms of protection. So this is another challenge of globalization is security. So may ka ng threat sa security. And that's all for my part. So the next reporter will be Engine Cadet Torres Kent J.
So, good day, sir. I'm Engine Cadet Torres Kenji. Next, please. So, my topic is about the globalization and the role of the state. So, the overview of globalization aims to inform on a new era for globalization with new markets, new actors, new rules and norms and new tools. So, the role and function of the state will be explored. So, in the globalization, the role of and function of the state will be explored. So the AIDS pandemic in sub-Saharan Africa is threatening development. Initiatives such as poverty reduction and economic growth. The state's ability to contribute in the mitigation of the AIDS epidemic depends largely on the optimal function of its institutions. So bilateral donors and multinational institutions, mitigation strategies are based on the state's ability to deliver the necessary service. So the state's ability is necessary to have the states avoid the pandemic. The epidemic is the success of intervention depends on the ability of the state not only to take the lead but also to provide the political will, leadership, and commitment. A short history of the changing concept of government's role will provide some insight on how the role of the state has changed over time. Presently, the role of the state is changing under the impact of globalization and other developments such as demographic changes. The role of the regulator, enabler, and facilitator will be discussed next. So that's all. So the role of the states is important in the globalization. So that's all for the report.
Next, Gray. So thank you for listening and have a good day, everyone. Tap the day.